Hi, I'm Ian Wong, a lung and ICU doctor at Duke University. Let's talk today about why PFT measure your lungs in three ways. If you remember the PFT example from earlier, there are three different measures. Spirometry, or how the air flows out of your lungs. Lung volumes, or how big your lungs are. And diffusing capacity, how well your tissue works. But why do you need three ways to measure this? First, let's ask ourselves the question, what are the lungs for? As we take in a breath, we take the outside air in full of oxygen. Our lungs then take the oxygen out of the air into our blood, take CO2 from our blood, put it back into that breath, and then we breathe that old breath out of our lungs. So as you can tell, there are two big steps. The first is getting the breath in, and the second is exchanging oxygen, or O2, for carbon dioxide, or CO2. This makes a lot of sense. You first need to take in a bunch of air that contains fresh oxygen. If you don't get a breath in, there's nothing for your lungs to do. So to understand why we measure lungs three ways, let's ask first where the problem is. So your lungs can be split into the airways, or the pipes that bring air to the lung tissue, and the lung tissue itself, full of small sacs called alveoli. If you're not getting a good breath in, there's less oxygen going into your lungs. Your airways don't allow enough air to flow in during a breath, so think asthma or COPD. Think about drinking a thick milkshake. Instead of a strong straw, which lets you drink anything you want, even bubbles, you have to drink that same thick milkshake through a flimsy, collapsible straw. It's not that easy, right? Now imagine that that's your breathing every breath you take in your life. We measure these airflow problems in this section, again called spirometry. Sometimes there's less space inside your lungs to hold the breath. If your balloon is too small, you can't fill it bigger than what you have. An average size breath might be like your standard size mason jar or a can of Coke. But what if you could only breathe a pint glass instead? There are two ways to get effectively smaller lungs. Some diseases really do make your lungs smaller, like fibrosis. Other times, the rest of the lung is so damaged, like smoking that causes emphysema, that even though someone might have bigger lungs, there's less lung left to use, so they're effectively smaller. We figure out if someone has one of these two problems in this section here, lung volumes. Finally, just because there's a breath inside your lungs doesn't mean your lungs can use that breath. Some diseases change how well your tissue works. Going back to our drinking, if instead of drinking water through a straw, what if you had to drink water through a sponge instead? It kind of gets the job done, but it's a lot harder. We measure how your lung tissue works in this section, diffusing capacity. As you see, all three of these tests test a very different thing, and all these three pictures together tell us a single story of how your lungs work. That's why your pulmonary function test, or PFT, has these three parts. Thanks again for watching. What other questions do you have about PFTs? What else could I explain? Drop a comment below, and please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.